Let's talk about the most dangerous mistakes men make in relationships. You think you're doing everything right, you care, you try, you love, and yet something always feels off. The connection fades, she pulls away, and you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? But it's not always about what you didn't do. Sometimes it's about what you keep doing over and over again without realizing how dangerous it really is. You meet a woman and suddenly everything about your life starts revolving around her. You stop doing the things you love. You cancel plans with your friends. You forget your goals. And slowly she becomes your entire world. The first mistake is losing your identity. At first it seems romantic, but over time it turns suffocating. Because love doesn't mean losing yourself. She didn't fall for a man who worships her. She fell for a man who had purpose, confidence, and direction. And when that disappears, the attraction dies with it. The second mistake, trying too hard to please her. Men often believe that the more they give, the more they'll be loved. But relationships don't work like transactions. The more you chase validation, the more she loses respect. It's not your job to constantly fix her mood or prove your worth. A high-value man knows when to give and when to pull back. Respect grows when you have boundaries. And once you start betraying yourself, love becomes a slow form of self-destruction. The third mistake, ignoring red flags. You see her disrespect you, manipulate you, test your patience, and yet you justify it. You tell yourself she'll change. Or maybe you're overreacting, but every time you ignore what your gut is trying to tell you, you betray yourself. The ability to express what you feel without losing control is what creates trust. You can't connect deeply if you're always hiding behind your armor. The fourth mistake, thinking emotional vulnerability means weakness. You were raised to believe that men shouldn't feel, that showing emotions makes you less of a man. But emotional intelligence isn't weakness, it's strength. Even if you never say it aloud, she can feel it. When you compare, you're telling her she's not enough. And when she senses that, she starts to pull away emotionally. Every woman wants to feel chosen, not compared. The fifth mistake, comparing her to other women. The sixth mistake, being afraid of confrontation. You swallow your words, you stay silent to keep the peace. But deep down, you start to lose respect for yourself. Healthy relationships need truth, not avoidance. Speak up, not to argue, but to stay authentic. Avoiding conflict doesn't make you peaceful, it makes you resentful. The seventh mistake, putting her happiness above your peace. The eighth mistake, neglecting self-growth. Love is not sacrifice. Love is balance. You keep walking on eggshells just to avoid upsetting her. You keep fixing everything just to make her smile. But if her happiness always comes at the cost of your peace, then you're not in love. You're in emotional slavery. The relationship can only be as healthy as the people in it. If you're not growing, love can't either. Once many men enter a relationship, they stop evolving, they stop challenging themselves, stop improving, stop striving. But a man who stops growing becomes predictable, stagnant, uninspiring. The ninth mistake, believing that money or status can replace emotional depth. You can give her the world and still make her feel unseen. Connection isn't built on luxury, it's built on presence. Yes, security matters. But money doesn't buy emotional safety. Women remember how you make them feel, not how much you spend. And the 10th mistake, choosing the wrong woman. Because sometimes it's not about what you do, it's about who you choose. If she's emotionally unavailable, manipulative, or draining, no amount of love will fix her. You can't heal someone who isn't ready to grow. Stop trying to rescue people from their own chaos. You deserve a woman who meets you with peace, not confusion. So remember this, a relationship is not a battlefield where you keep losing yourself to win her love. It's a space where two people grow, individually and together. The right woman will never demand you to shrink. Don't lose your essence just to keep someone who doesn't value it. Be that man, grounded, aware, evolving. She'll admire your boundaries, your strength, your truth. Because the most dangerous mistake, you see, when you lose yourself in love, you also lose the polarity that keeps the relationship alive. You become too available, too predictable, too centered around her emotions, and the truth is no woman truly wants to be with a man who has no center of his own. She might think she does, but deep down she craves the presence of a man who stands strong, even when love gets messy. A man who doesn't need her validation to feel complete. It's forgetting your own worth while trying to prove it to someone else. You know what destroys a man silently? When he starts loving someone so deeply that he forgets himself in the process. He stops being the man he once was, the man with dreams, confidence, and purpose, and becomes someone who lives only for her approval. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, piece by piece. Every time he cancels his own plans to please her. Every time he hides his truth to avoid an argument. Every time he changes himself to fit her expectations. He loses a part of who he truly is. At first, she loves his energy, his direction, his sense of purpose. That's what draws her in, his fire, his ambition, his calm confidence. But once that fire starts burning only for her, it begins to die out. And she feels it. She starts to sense that the man she admired is no longer there. She feels the imbalance even if she can't explain it. Attraction fades not because love disappears, but because his essence does. Women are not attracted to neediness. They're drawn to presence. A man who can look at her with love but still walk away when his peace is disturbed. That man commands respect. A man who values himself enough to say, I love you, but I will not lose myself for you. Radiates something rare, self-worth. And that's magnetic. When you stop prioritizing yourself, you unconsciously start teaching her that your energy revolves around her moods. You make her the sun of your world, and you become the planet that constantly revolves around her, desperate for warmth. And at first, she might enjoy it, but soon it becomes too much. She starts feeling responsible for your happiness, and that pressure turns love into obligation. And that's where most men go wrong. They confuse devotion with dependence. They think loving someone deeply means sacrificing everything for them. But love is not about self-sacrifice. It's about self-awareness. It's about being so grounded in who you are that you can share love without losing your identity in it. You can give without emptying yourself. You can care without controlling. You can love without begging to be loved back. Love shouldn't feel like a performance. It shouldn't be about doing everything right or constantly proving that you care. It should feel natural, two people growing, supporting, and respecting each other's individuality. You are not supposed to merge into one. You are supposed to walk side by side. Your identity, your focus, your energy, these are not things you trade for love. They are the foundation of love. Without them, the relationship has no stability. You can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't lead with a lost soul. If you keep losing yourself just to keep her, you'll end up losing both. So if you've ever found yourself chasing love so hard that you forgot to chase your purpose, stop. Remember who you were before she came into your life. The man who had goals, who had passion, who had vision. Because that's the man who caught her attention in the first place. She didn't fall for the man who made her his world. She fell for the man who had his own world and simply invited her to be a part of it. So let this be your reminder. She doesn't need you to give her your whole life. She needs you to have a life worth sharing. She needs you to stay grounded in your truth, to stand firm in your values, to be the calm in the chaos. That's what love craves. Not a man who worships, but a man who leads. You're not here to disappear into someone else's story. You're here to write your own with someone who respects the man behind the words. Don't lose yourself trying to be everything for her. Be everything for you first. And from that wholeness, love her fully, not out of fear, not out of desperation, but out of strength. The moment you start depending on her to define your worth, you lose your masculine energy, that quiet strength that creates safety. A man who knows himself doesn't chase validation. He doesn't over-explain, over-give, or over-commit. He simply is. And from that energy, everything flows. Respect, attraction, intimacy. You cannot make someone respect you by giving them everything. You earn respect by showing that your peace has value, that your time has value, that you have value. Every time you let someone cross a boundary, just because you don't want to lose them, you send a silent message. My comfort matters less than your approval. And once that message is received, it's hard to take it back. Love without self-respect becomes submission. It's not love when you're constantly trying to prove you deserve it. Real love grows from strength, not fear. But too many men mistake fear for loyalty. They think that if they do everything right, if they're always available, always agreeable, always forgiving, she will love them more. But it doesn't work that way. The more you chase approval, the less attractive you become. Because the moment you remember who you are, you become impossible to lose. There's a reason why so many relationships collapse quietly, not because love disappears, but because respect does. When a man forgets to respect himself, he unknowingly teaches the woman he loves to do the same. It starts subtly. He avoids expressing his needs. He apologizes when he hasn't done anything wrong. He accepts disrespect just to keep the peace. He tells himself he's being loving, patient, understanding, but what he's really doing is abandoning himself. You see, boundaries are not walls. They are gates that protect your inner peace. And the right woman will never feel threatened by them. She'll feel safe. Because deep down, women crave emotional security. They want to know the man they love won't collapse every time something goes wrong. They want to know he can handle conflict, pressure, emotion without losing himself. That's what true masculine energy is, not control, not arrogance, but emotional stability. A woman respects a man who respects himself. She admires a man who says no when something doesn't align with his peace. She trusts a man who stands firm in his truth, not one who bends every time she tests him. Respect isn't demanded through dominance, it's earned through presence. It's earned when you can stay calm while being challenged. It's earned when you don't argue for validation but walk away when your energy is no longer valued. When you respect yourself, you don't tolerate chaos just because you're afraid to be alone. You don't chase people who drain you. You don't beg for loyalty or attention. You attract it naturally because your energy says, I am enough with or without you. And that energy is powerful. It's the kind of energy that shifts dynamics, the kind that makes people rise to meet your standards. You have to remember, love is not meant to drain you, it's meant to mirror your growth. A relationship should make you feel supported, not small. When you respect yourself, you stop asking, how can I make her happy? And start asking, is this relationship aligned with my peace? Because your peace will always tell you the truth, even when love tries to lie. But when a man's self-worth depends on how much he's loved, he becomes powerless. He starts measuring his value through her reactions, her moods, her attention. One moment she's affectionate and he feels high. The next she's distant and he feels worthless. That's not love. That's emotional dependence. And emotional dependence is the death of masculine strength. Self-respect means you walk away from anyone who forces you to compromise your values. It means you don't let guilt convince you to stay in places where your worth is ignored. It means you stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Sometimes respect is not loud. It's quiet. It's in your silence when someone crosses a line. It's in the way you choose not to argue. It's in the way you leave gracefully when staying would destroy your soul. A man who respects himself doesn't react. He responds. He doesn't chase validation because he already has it from within. And that energy is irresistible. That's the energy of a man who doesn't need to prove anything. A man who knows his worth doesn't demand respect. It naturally flows to him. When you start putting your peace above constant pleasing, everything changes. The way people talk to you changes. The way you carry yourself changes. You walk differently because you're no longer walking on eggshells. You love differently because you're no longer afraid of losing love. You speak differently because you no longer need to be liked. You just need to be understood. There is a quiet confidence that comes with self-respect. It's not arrogance, it's clarity. It's knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you'll no longer accept. You stop trying to earn love, and instead, you become love. You stop chasing connection, and instead, you attract alignment.